Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. Today I have a game I would like to bring to your attention. This is Halls of Torment, and as you may no doubt immediately be able to see, it is a survivors-like, or I don't know what we're calling this genre. I haven't seen like a unilateral term be adopted by people, or at least there's not one that I'm aware of, but what I've heard them referred to is as survivors-likes, which is basically Vampire Survivors inspired games. If you're not familiar with Vampire Survivors, it's a game which looks a lot like this. I mean, like, it doesn't look a lot like this in terms of aesthetics, but in terms of gameplay, like you are running around, you are dealing damage, although in Vampire Survivors you're not aiming, it's more passive, and you are collecting little XP gems on the ground and leveling up as you go, and collecting things which will, like items which will enhance your damage. This is a more Diablo take on it. I would say that Vampire Survivors is very Castlevania inspired, and I believe it even has Castlevania DLC now. So if Vampire Survivors is a Castlevania Survivors-like game, or Castlevania inspired Survivors-like game, then Halls of Torment is a Diablo inspired Survivors-like game. And it is mostly basically Vampire Survivors, except like I said, you do aim your attacks, and also you can find items to equip to your character, and the way it works is you can choose to sacrifice an item you find to the well, and when you take it up the well, it means you can purchase it to unlock it permanently on future runs, so you can slowly outfit your characters. And also apparently there's like a quest system. I'm like 3.5 hours deep into this game, and I think I have come across it, but I've not really like interacted with it too much, unless by the quest system they just mean the missions with the achievements, but I think they might mean like some of the maps when you enter there's like a quest to go and do a thing. I did see one which was like, oh, you need to have this specific item because then you can see this specific enemy and kill it. I think that's what they mean by quests. And yeah, there's a million of these games, but I would say that this is probably one of the better alternatives. I say that having zero experience of other alternatives and very little experience in Vampire Survivors itself. I've actually probably spent more time in this game now than I ever did in Vampire Survivors when it was on Game Pass, or when I had Game Pass. It's probably still there. I think I did play another like cartoony one. Maybe it was Brotator, I'm not sure. But anyway, I digress. This is a fantastic game. I remember when I was playing Vampire Survivors, I loved it, and I remember thinking like, I would love like a Diablo take on this, and now here it is, it exists, and it's fantastic. As you can see though, it's not too strictly adherent to the Diablo formula. Like, it has its own ideas, like those grey blobs, which later on do split off into smaller grey blobs and stuff. It has its own unique enemy types, and it also has its own unique classes alongside the ones you would expect. It has like a exterminator which wields a flamethrower, which is probably my favourite class so far. I went with swordsman because it's the basic one, and this is also the first map, and I just kind of wanted to show you the base experience, although do keep in mind there is cross-run progression. It is a roguelite. I have been upgrading my characters like beginning stats through the shop and stuff, as well as obviously starting with some pieces of armor. That's why we have a friendly ghost appearing and shooting fireballs at stuff. But yeah, I adore this game. I know it's derivative, but I think that there is room for derivation, if that's a word, within genres. I think gaming would be worse off if we just had Vampire Survivors and no other games like it. I think it's great that there is a Diablo flavoured Vampire Survivors, because you get people like me who wanted a Diablo flavoured Vampire Survivors, and I will probably spend more time in this. I do intend to at some point pick up Vampire Survivors. It's like £3. It's not exactly a huge expense, and I would love to get all the Steam achievements in it, just like I would love to get all the Steam achievements in this game. But if you don't mind, the footage is quite long for this run, so I am gonna speed it up a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't ruin the viewing experience for you. I will slow it down when we get to the 4 minutes left mark, because that is when the game really starts piling on the stress. But the weekly Waypoint is kind of a 25-minute at most kind of a show, because I will run out of things to talk about, and for all of our sanities, I think this is the way to go. If this game is anything like Vampire Survivors, and I think it has this, this, it will have a mode when I beat a stage to be able to play it at kind of double speed anyway. Obviously, the sound effects and me picking abilities wouldn't be sped up, but yeah, I did not have that unlocked for this video, I'm afraid. I don't remember what it's called in Vampire Survivors, but I believe in this game it's called Agony Mode. I haven't actually explored Agony Mode yet though, so that might be something else. But yeah, the reason I kind of came across this game, in fact I went looking for it, is because I'm in the mood as we reach September-October time for Diablo. Not necessarily the Diablo gameplay, although I'm always in the mood for Diablo gameplay, but more the atmosphere, the dark fantasy aesthetic, because this time of year hits and it just gets that way, doesn't it? Obviously we've got Halloween coming up, but also in general, just like the nights drawing in, the temperature getting colder, you know, it's kind of cozy to get embroiled in like some dark fantasies. And I was like, well, I don't really have access to Diablo 4 anymore because I don't have Game Pass. I don't super feel like playing Diablo 3 or 2, even though I do have them on Switch now. But I do feel like playing through this kind of a world, and I am also in the mood to get back into a Vampire Survivors style game. My brain did go towards Vampire Survivors. I'm in a very roguelike mood as well. We'll talk about Hades in a moment, which also kind of fits the mood. It's adjacent. But yeah, I ended up remembering Halls of Torment exists. I remember I downloaded the demo for it back before it came out, and then I never got around to trying the demo. But I was like, oh, it's probably cheap, isn't it? I don't need to play the demo. I can just get the full game. It's like £5 or something. And let me tell you, it was the right decision. It scratched the itch I wanted it to scratch. It also sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole in terms of where did I originally fall in love with the dark fantasy aesthetic in terms of gaming, because it wasn't Diablo 3 to begin with. In fact, when I saw Diablo 3 for the first time, I think I played the demo on PS4 and fell in love with it. I was attracted to it first and foremost because it was a Blizzard game and I was just getting into WoW properly, and I wanted to see what else they had going on, but also because I already loved the dark fantasy aesthetic. And actually, I've just realised what I'm about to say is false. I was about to say my love for the dark fantasy aesthetic in gaming came from Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which is not the most popular Gauntlet game, but it is the one I had and is the one I loved, and I played a bunch of it. But a very quick aside, I've just realised it probably started with Medieval for PS1 when I was really young. I was indoctrinated into the world of dark fantasy from a very early age. But no, Gauntlet Dark Legacy is a game that I've been wanting to replay for a really long time, and for whatever reason I just haven't. I own it, I have the means, and I just, yeah, because of the fact I haven't played it in so long, the nostalgia factor is very high. And I do actually have some footage of me playing through it on yesterday's Miscellaneous Shenanigans video if you want to go check out what I mean, if you've never heard of Gauntlet Dark Legacy. But it is an action RPG. It's a hack and slash. It's a little bit like Diablo, but it doesn't have like full RPG systems or loot or anything like that. Its origins trace back to arcade cabinets, so in that way it's probably older than Diablo as a franchise. But yeah, just booting that game up again, watching the intro, which is just emblazoned into my mind.
In an ancient time, the evil mage Garm, using the power of the runestones, released a great evil upon the land.
I'm not doing it justice. Imagine a really deep voice just absolutely fruiting the mic. The audio balance in that game, I've rediscovered, is awful, by the way. But everything about it, the aesthetics, like when you're doing the first level and you're going through the poison fields, and the sound of the skeletons, and when you eat food, your gun goes, om, nom, om, om, nom. Or like, food is good, and it's weirdly quirky like that as well. And it's such a video game-ass video game. You're running around, you're collecting crystals. The level hub is a lot like a Crash Bandicoot level hub, in that it has these little cul-de-sacs with like 5 portals to walk into to get transported to the levels you need to go to. Honestly, if you want to play like a PS2-ass video game that's set in like a dark fantasy that doesn't take itself too seriously, go check out Gauntlet Dark Legends. I think people prefer Gauntlet Gauntlet Dark Legacy. The one before it is called Gauntlet Legends, and I think that's the one that people prefer. And I keep getting the name wrong because they're very similar. And one day I will check out Gauntlet Legends, but I don't know if it's going to have staying power for me, considering it won't have the nostalgia of having played it in my youth. I did record more gameplay as well, but unfortunately the footage got stuck on a particular pause screen at one point when I tabbed out. I'm not committing myself to going and finishing the game or anything, but it has been a really fun thing to revisit at this time of year. Maybe I'll do a live stream in it at some point, I don't know. Anyway, I promised Hades talk, didn't I? Yes, Hades nuts, Lamau. Anyway, sorry. Hades 2 came out this week, and guess what I played? Hades 1. Hades is one of those games that suffered from success in terms of getting me to play it, because all I heard about was how great it was. Before I ever had the chance to form my own opinion, I was just hearing for hours on end, because I listened to more gaming podcasts back then than I do now, about how good this game was. And so when I got around to playing it, my expectations were thoroughly set. And while I did enjoy my time with it, I'm talking about, again, it was on Game Pass, and I was playing it on Game Pass, you know, it's not like I'm actively sat there going, oh, well, everyone says this game's really good. Well, I'm having an 8 out of 10 time, not a 10 out of 10 time, so I'm going to be grumpy about it. I'm not. It's not a conscious thing, but it is a subconscious thing, I think. I had the same problem with Baldur's Gate 3. I bet I will have the same problem with Expedition 33, even though I do want to try that game. It is possible to ruin a game for someone by telling them how great it is too much. But now that a few years have passed, and kind of because I loved the Hades 2 cinematic trailer so much, I saw that Hades 1 was on sale and I decided to go ahead and pick it up. Also for a $5. We've got a running theme this week. It's games for a $5. You can't get Gauntlet Dark Legacy for a $5, but they really do need to remaster that game. It's like the top of my wish list for remasters. Anyway, prepare yourself, because I'm about to shock you with a brand new opinion that you've never heard before. Hades is really good. And by the way, I know we did a whole weekly waypoint on it last week, but I had kind of only just scratched the surface of the game. I've still kind of only really scratched the surface of the game. But what I love about Hades is, and I'm regurgitating talking points that I've heard a million times over, so bear with. I love that unlike any other roguelite that I've ever played, it has a progressive narrative that takes place throughout and between runs. So not only am I approaching each run with, you know, some more character upgrades between runs, which is what I like a roguelite for that reason, but also each time I'm wondering, hey, like, are they going to introduce any new elements in this run and surprise me, like when I met Chaos, or when I got given like that god boon or whatever it's called, or, you know, what's Meg gonna say this time around when I face her? You know, when I die, I have to go and talk to everyone before, like, I turn off for the night, because I'm like, I gotta hear what everyone says this time around, and it's just so good. The combat's really fun as well. I do have what is probably a bit of a controversial opinion. I do think people love Hades so much that they kind of overlook some of the inherent, you know, this is a lower budget indie title parts of the game. I think the game looks beautiful, for instance, but I also think that Hades 2 looks better, if you know what I mean. It seems like it's had more care put into it, and there's just a couple of rough edges in terms of both art style and combat, which, again, I think get overlooked. But again, I'm talking like 9 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10, if you know what I mean. But when I did start the game, I was like, oh, this combat's not as great as everyone says it is. And then I unlocked the spear and I went, okay, now it is. The spear is my favourite weapon so far, although I have not yet used the Aegis. I don't know if there's any more unlockable weapons other than the 4 that you are able to use and unlock. Or if you just, you know, put upgrades into them that adjust how they play. But yes, I love the spear so much. I have got up to the, I mean, I don't want to give away any spoilers, even though it's a very old game now, but I've got up to the final boss of the 3rd area, and that is also where I got up to in my Game Pass save. And I might be wrong, but I believe it's just that and then a final boss, so I think I'm doing pretty well. But my understanding is also, like, that's not the end of the game just because you clear a run. I think there's probably more story after that too, and then you continue doing runs. But yeah, Hades 1, unsurprisingly, very good game. Now, do you remember when I was telling you that derivative games are a good thing and enhance the genre as a whole? Back when we were talking about how Halls of Torment here is very derivative of Vampire Survivors, but is a different flavor and a slightly different take on the game, and that's really cool. Well, after playing a bunch of Hades, Steam recommended to me a game called Sworn, and to be clear, this is not an impression of the game. I have not played the game, I do not own the game, but I want to talk about it because I look at it and I go, oh boy, this isn't just derivative, this is in many ways a copy-paste. Like, you have to go and look at it yourself to see, but obviously the art style is similar, the gameplay is very similar. It's got the whole like characters talking to you as you play different runs thing going on. It's Hades Light, or Hades at home, or, you know, store brand Hades if you want to be rude about it. But I find it fascinating because it copies it to a level which is just fascinating. There is a thing in Hades where when you are in the weapon practice room, you pick up a weapon and there are tooltips in the top left which tell you how you move with the weapon, like the weapon's moves, the combos, the buttons, and when you utilize those combos and press those buttons, those UI elements kind of like flash and fade out. And in Sworn, they have exactly the same thing in exactly the same style with the exact same behavior. And I go, how important is it to you as a developer to copy Hades as much as possible that you even copy that UI element? And yet, don't think I'm shitting on this game, because I still think it's cool that you can have this derivative yet different flavor of the same thing, because Sworn, instead of being based on Greek mythology, is based on Arthurian legend, and I kinda want it. It just, I'm just fascinated by it. And you know, you look at the reviews and some say, oh, it's a really good game in its own right. You get the odd, oh, I prefer this to Hades, because those people always exist and people can have different opinions. But you also have a lot of people saying, oh, it's not as good as Hades, it's a little bit rough, the 1.0 launch didn't add much, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you want an alternative to Hades, I don't know why you would, considering Hades 2 just came out, your alternative to Hades is right there. But hey, Sworn is a game that exists, and I have not played it, and I have not tried it, and I do not know if it's good, but I am fascinated by it. If you've played Sworn, let me know. I mean, I think it probably does have its own features as well. I saw something in there that looked different to Hades, but it just seems like it copies Hades to an insane degree as like a base before it starts to do its own stuff. And I guess you could say the same about this game, because of like how it does the XP drops, and you got the ruby ones which are rare and give you way more XP. It's like, did it need to be copied to that degree? It's very interesting to consider, but we have now hit the 4-minute mark, so I will be slowing the run back down. One last note about games I picked up this week. I did also pick up the MySims Cozy Bundle, because I also have a lot of nostalgia and love for MySims, and if you don't know what MySims is, think Disney Dreamlight Valley. We're talking about derivative games. No one ever talks about how derivative Disney Dreamlight Valley is. It kind of lifted the design blueprint from MySims and then applied some more modern stuff to it. But that also includes MySims Kingdoms, which I've never got to play. I haven't touched it yet, but I have played some of MySims itself, and it is a pretty nice remaster. It's nothing too crazy, although they have expanded the amount of Sims that you can move into your village, and I'll probably have more to say on that when I've played more of it, probably next week. But it is a favourite game from my childhood, and it makes me feel very cozy, you know, like the bundle would suggest. See, I'm multifaceted. I like dark fantasy, and I like cozy MySims games. Now we've got just about enough time for the MMO corner, and I've been pretty much maining RuneScape leagues once again this week. I've reached the tier 6 relic, which was Perkvention for me, which basically solves invention, and I was able to get 200 million XP, which is the XP cap in RuneScape, which normally takes years and years to hit, but I managed to hit that in just a few hours, which is very fun. I did then hit the like, I've hit my goal, what do I do next paralysis, which I get sometimes in games, but 200 mil invention XP is not the goal of leagues. The goal is I guess tier 7, and then continuing onwards to try and get more and more points to get better trophies and more points to spend in the league's shop when the league is done for different cosmetics, which don't look that great, although I do like the cape on the tier 3 outfit, it turns out, so maybe I do want these points after all. I still don't know how much time I'm going to dedicate to it. I'm starting to feel the pull of just main game RuneScape 3, because you know, after a certain point, you're like, I want to do some meaningful permanent progression in the real game instead of temporary progression on account that's going to be deleted in a few weeks, just so that I can get some cosmetics. I'm having fun in the meantime though, so I will continue playing leagues. But I've come to a decision with RuneScape, and it's a decision that's 18 years in the coming, because I've been playing that game for that long, and I've always held myself back from going on a big exploration of the lore of that game like I do in most other MMOs and fantasy universes, because I wanted to see it for myself through questing. But as I was doing archaeology in leagues, I kind of came to the realization that the game expects you at this point to have done a lot more questing than I actually have, or at the very least to have more lore knowledge than I currently have, and I end up kind of not knowing what's going on, or potentially spoiling myself with out of order events. So I think what I'm gonna do, after 18 years of playing the game and not knowing what the hell is going on, is I'm just gonna start watching lore videos on YouTube and catch up that way. I still want to play through the quests on my main account, obviously for like the unlocks and stuff, but also to see the events unfold firsthand. There will probably still be merit for me in seeing that, but I have just watched a wonderful video by a YouTuber called Charliescape called RuneScape Lore: The Entire Story Before We Arrive, so like before the player journey starts in that game. And so it tells us the story of the first, second, third and fourth ages of RuneScape history, and I learned so much, and it's frankly been a little bit fascinating to see. Obviously I get scraps here and there of understanding what's going on in the game, but to finally start to understand the full context behind what's going on. And I think as like this big Hazelmere area expansion update is looming later in the year, I don't know if I'll still be playing around that time, but I might do, and it would be nice to be able to check that out and actually know what the hell is going on. So I think I am. I'm just gonna start, like, you know, watching RuneScape lore content and catching up. Also, Platinum WoW put out a new WoW lore video about Malfurion, which was just so fun and made me remember how much I love just watching lore videos and stuff. I guess this is also continuing on from last week with Daniel Green's big Wheel of Time summary video and me reading Robert Jordan's The World of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. God, that's an unwieldy book name. But yeah, in terms of other MMO thoughts and happenings, I'm starting to really get hyped for WoW's Legion remix, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. Legion is probably the peak of WoW for me, and I know at some point it's nostalgia and it's the people I played it with at the time, and that's not necessarily going to magically come back into being, but I'm just so excited to roll a Warlock. I've designed her already. She is a bold Draenei lady who's actually an Eridar. She's got like the dark Eridar skin color and the fell green eyes, and she looks so fucking cool. And I'm going to play through the Warlock Order Hall and possibly some other Order Halls as well, and really appreciate them this time around, because I mostly just did the Druid and Demon Hunter Order Halls back during Legion. Despite seeing the intros of every single other classes, I never actually played through them and finished them, so maybe that'll be something I get to do here, as well as just remix being a fun time in general. I know it's kind of time gated this time around. I don't hate that. I know that's a bit of a controversial opinion, but I did end up feeling a little burned out in the Miss of Pandaria remix, just trying to do all of the story as quick as possible. But anyway, that's the first time I've beat the boss and survived a full run in this game, and I was thrilled that I actually managed to get that as the weekly Waypoint run. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. This was Halls of Torment. If you want a reminder, go check it out. It's very cheap and it's very fun, and I love it so much. And I'm going to continue farming achievements and just having a great time in it and exploring it. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you in whatever I make next.